What's going on, y'all? Robert Sikes, KetoSavage.com, and today I have special guest Crystal Sikes back in the building. As I alluded to at the last podcast, episode 399, we have got some very, very big news. All of that is unveiled in today's episode. We are incredibly excited about it. We're incredibly excited to take y'all along on the journey. We've gotten a lot of interest around this topic, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be really, really good. So I don't want to tease it too much here. You can listen to the whole podcast. So without further ado, let's dive into the conversation with my lovely wife, Crystal. Welcome to another video Keto Savage podcast. How are you, babe? Round 2 or
so
10.
Good. Yeah.
The last one was episode 399. This one's gonna be episode 405. So not too far off. We alluded in the last podcast about this big, colossal surprise that we wanted everybody to be aware of when the time came. Shall we dive into what that is now?
Sure.
All right, so we got people have been asking about it for a long time. You know, we decided to just go with the flow. We got the butter maple pecan bricks, the keto bricks that people have been asking for since we launched them last year in November. They're going to be back on the site, available for purchase live and launching this Sunday, which is going to be the 17th?
Yep.
When this goes live?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
The 17th at 12 noon Central. And that's the big news, right?
Oh, yeah.
That is true. That is true. We do have the buttermilk pecan bricks launching on the 17th at noon Central, but that is not the big news.
We're super excited about that.
We are super excited about that. We are very excited about that. But that is not the big news that brought you on for round 2 on the podcast. Do you want to just unveil that? You say it. Boom.
I'm pregnant.
All right. And that's the end of the podcast, y'all. Y'all have a great day. So we got Baby Savage on board. Crystal is knocked up. Is that
What
an
a way
informal
to put it.
Is that an
Yeah.
informal way to say it?
Yeah.
Knocked up. Crystal is impregnated. She has a baby swimming around in there. Baby Savage on board. And we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah, we're super excited.
We are pretty excited. Crystal's been asking for a baby since the beginning, pretty much. Mm-hmm. When was the beginning that you started asking for a baby?
I have no idea. I think from the very beginning, you knew I really wanted kids.
Yeah. So we met in Washington State, and she was working at a coffee stand, and I started, putting the moves on her because she was pretty cute and I'm pretty smooth. And her aspirations in life were basically to have some land, some pigs, and some kids. That pretty much sums it up, right?
Yeah.
Land,
Yeah.
pigs, kids. I don't know which order of importance there. Probably the kids, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And
you
I was
have to have land before you can have kids, though.
Yeah. And
in what I wanted.
Yeah. And I was all just business entrepreneurship, build a brand, build a business, build an empire. So kids have been the last thing on my mind. Not that I haven't wanted kids, but it's just not been the right time. Kids were on the back burner of my mind. I always wanted kids. I was pretty confident I wanted kids, but it wasn't like something that was in my everyday thought process where it was for Crystal. So she was like, when are we going to have kids? When are we going to have kids? When are we going to have land? When are we going to have pigs?
And realistically, we've only been married for 2.5 years. So,
but we've known each other since when?
Our first date was January 2015. Yeah. Wow. 15. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we knew each other a little bit before that, but that was our first date. So we had been together for a while. I did not want to have children until after we got married. We've only been married for 2.5 years, but since we got married, I was like, okay, it's time. Let's do it. And yeah, had to wait a little bit there.
Well, because we were living in the warehouse, which we talked about in the last episode. So it was not a conducive environment to raising kids. It just wasn't the right time. Like we were super in debt when we first started dating. And then when we were married, we were still pretty in debt. And then we had the business that we were living in the warehouse for. So it just there was too much going on for us to make sense with having kids. There's still a lot going on. There's honestly probably more going on now than there ever has been.
Yeah, we kind of just decided like our lives are never going to probably slow down. So let's go for it.
Yeah. And now we at least have a house. So there's a little bit of separation between work and family life. And we have a building now. So that's going good. And we intend to be in this area for at least the foreseeable future. And we're excited about the area. We have some land now to raise the kids on, and we have some land to raise pigs on, maybe even a cow or two and some goats, chickens. But yeah, we're excited about it all. So we thought this podcast would be kind of cool because neither Crystal or I have had kids before. We're both going to be new parents, and we there's a lot of people that have kids that before they have kids, they have this idea of what parenthood's going to be like, and they have all these rules and regulations that they kind of create for themselves and say, oh, I would never do that with my kids, or I would do this with my kids, or they'll be very judgmental towards other parents, and they're like, oh, I will never do that when I've got kids of my own. And for me and for you, it's like we've never wanted to be this holier than thou person. I mean, if you're not a parent, you can't really speak as to what you would do as a parent.
You can't pretend you're one. Yeah.
But at the same time, there are some things that I feel like we want to make sure we do with our parental, guidance and upbringing. So I thought it'd be kind of cool for this podcast if before we have a kid, what are some things that we intend to do as parents, and then we can listen to this podcast, after the fact, after we have the kid, and see, how many of these things have we followed through with, or how many of these things have we totally...
We're looking forward to looking back on this and laughing at ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
But hopefully we'll follow through with most of them. But I feel like I have a little bit of a cheat because I have 13 nieces and nephews, and Robert he was married into them, but I've been around them for 13 years.
Yeah, so her family's got all kinds of kids. Our kid will be the first kid in my generation, or not my generation, the next generation in my family.
It'll be the first of this next generation.
Yeah, in my family. So it's pretty cool. We had both of our parents at home, like in town last weekend, and we unveiled the news there. So that was pretty cool. We had it was my mom's birthday that Saturday, and she came over on Sunday. We had a present that she opened up, and the present was a sweater, and the sweater said, what did it say? It said,
my greatest blessings, call me Granny.
Yeah, so she was all emotional and teary-eyed and everything, so that was pretty cool. And then I gave Dad a bourbon glass that said, Dad established 1991, Papa established 2022, and then my brother was there as well, and it basically was the same thing except it said Uncle. And then your parents, you told them when they first got in town, so it was pretty cool to have them in and just share the news. We're going to go to my grandparents' house this weekend, and we're going to have coffee with my granny and pop on the porch with my parents.
By the time this goes live, we will have already told our entire family.
Yeah. But that'll be cool because my pop is my dad's dad. His name is Robert. My dad's name is Robert. My name is Robert. And if this happens to be a boy, his name will be Robert.
It's very likely that this is a boy.
So we'll have 4 generations of Roberts right there, which is pretty cool. If indeed this is a boy. But all that to say,
we should probably say like when we're due and how far along are we and things like that. I feel like people are going to want to know that.
Okay, yeah, let's dive in.
So we're due early May. I don't want to say the date because if we're late, then people are just going to be all over me. Like, why aren't you having a kid yet? So we're due early May, and by the time this podcast goes live, I will be just about 11 weeks.
Yeah.
11 weeks.
And we probably could talk. Let's talk a little bit about ketogenic diet and bring it back to the keto concept here. We'll talk about all the plans that we have as parents in the future. But let's talk a little bit about the whole process. Because I get a lot of questions. I bring on a lot of people on the podcast. A lot of people ask me questions about fertility and the ketogenic diet. For whatever reason, there's this concern that if you do not have carbohydrates, you are infertile and less likely, or not necessarily infertile, but less likely to be able to have a baby, procreate and whatnot. And that was not the case for us.
I will say that we want to go into this subject as gently as possible because this is a very sensitive subject for a lot of people. And we don't want to be boastful. We don't want to say it's going to be easy or not easy for everyone. Everybody's body's super different. We just are explaining our story and what happened with us. So
yeah, we would never want to come across as being insensitive because a lot of people have trouble, getting pregnant. And yeah, we would certainly not want to be insensitive to that. However, for us, both of us being strict keto for 5-6+ years now, Crystal pretty much had everything. Actually, we talked about this a little bit on a prior podcast, but you've gotten off all birth control for quite some time due to all the negative implications that they can have from a hormonal standpoint.
I've been off of them for 2.5 years at this point, or a little, almost more than 2.5.
Yeah, Allie Miller's got some great podcasts on the negative adverse effects of long-term birth control. So that podcast prompted us to get off of that and use more of a natural method for tracking things via the Daisy temperature.
We use the Daisy temperature tracker, and it works best if you have a pretty regular cycle, but we used that, and it was extremely accurate. It was extremely accurate for me, and it is what we use to also try to get pregnant as well.
Yeah, so doing that for the past 2.5 years, whatever it's been, being strict keto for the past 5-6 years, Crystal pretty much had the time slots via that tracker and the calendar whittled down to like a 4-day window, basically, in which that pregnancy could occur. And that's pretty much all it took. First try, and that was all she wrote. Now, we have had sex more than that once. We've practiced a little bit prior, but the actual act of getting her pregnant was pretty effective. Yeah. So all that to say, again, we're individuals, everyone's unique, but for us, being strict keto without carbohydrates for several years on end.
Exercising regularly.
Yeah, exercising regularly, just being healthy in general. Eating enough calories, that's a big one. Eating enough calories certainly did not contribute to any lack of fertility, I guess is a good way to put it. What else is some relevant information there? Anything else top of mind?
I don't know. I would just say, like, I felt extremely in tune with my body. It sounds like weird to say, but just be very familiar with your body. Be familiar with the things that it produces as a female. Your entire cycle, the way things feel and the way things just are. I mean, if you're a female, you get what I'm getting at. But just being in tune with your body, and a cycle is just like another vital sign. I said that the other day. And if your cycle is not regular, I would do everything in my power to try to get a regular cycle again. There was a time after my competition, or during my competition, that I did lose my cycle, and that's why I chose not to compete until after we had children, because I didn't want to mess with my hormones. I would definitely just focus on that a lot, making sure you're eating plenty of food and exercising regularly and all the things that people tell you to do. I mean, it really does make a huge difference. Yeah,
totally agree. Do we want to dive into, I guess, just to preface this, we intend to have a 3-part series to this podcast. Or probably not counting this podcast. This is more of an introductory podcast. But Crystal had the genius idea of doing like a first trimester follow-up, second trimester follow-up, third trimester follow-up podcast episode after each trimester, which makes a lot of sense to me. I feel like
I would love to do even like an after birth one as well, like maybe a month or so after the birth. Mm-hmm.
We're honestly super excited about this from a, obviously we're just super excited about it because that's what reason do we need? What other reasons do we need? We're super excited about it. But I feel like there's a lot of value we can add in the content creation, nutritional space with regard to, what we're going to do from a nutritional standpoint with the pregnancy and the newborn, et cetera, because there's always so many questions about them. So we're going to be able to kind of live it firsthand now.
I also feel like we're doing things
very different,
very natural, holistic. I don't know. I'm excited to share that. I'm a little nervous.
Are we going to do it on this podcast?
Yeah, I don't know.
Are we going to go all
I don't know.
Might as well. Shoot, why not?
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so, you know all the details. What are we... I'm mostly just letting Crystal lead on this one. She's been doing all the research. I'm just the workaholic, and she tells me what's up.
All right. I'm not asking for anyone's opinion. Let's just say that first and foremost. If you are excited for us, please share in the excitement. If you oppose what we're doing, that's fine. I respect your opinion, but I'm not really asking for people's opinions. So I have been looking into all of this for a really long time. I've wanted kids for a very long time. I'm super, super passionate about it. And I have, actually my sister-in-law is one of the biggest reasons why I really want to go through with this. So we decided together, mostly me, because, well, I'm the one that has to go through it, but we would like to do a home birth. If everything goes through really well, if my body is doing well, if the baby's positioned right, if everything is set up for success, then we would like to do a home birth. We've already picked out our midwife. She is absolutely amazing. I stinking love her. And I've been looking into a lot of different things. We'll have everything that we need in our access, and we have our home, and I'm just really excited about doing it that way, which means there will be no medication, there will be no IVs, there will be no people checking in on your baby and you and doing pelvic exams and doing all the things that I would really like to avoid. Now, that being said, birth does not go the way that you want it to all the time. So there may be some hiccups, there may be some issues, there may be a situation where it does land me in the hospital. Our midwife, who I would love to either have on the YouTube or on the podcast or something, she has a very good rate of having a successful home birth. I think she said like she's only had 1 or 2 transfers, and really it's not due to a complication. It's due to the mom just saying, I really can't do this without medication. So she has a very good success rate and a 0 mortality rate for baby and mom. And she's been doing this for 16 years. And I believe the person who will be assisting us has done it for 20 years. So, yeah, I'm just really excited about that. I feel like that's not a thing that people talk about a lot. There's a lot of things that have gone into me deciding that I really want to go this route. And I'm super, super passionate about it. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to email me or comment or whatever, because I have a lot of information. And some people frown upon decisions like this, and that's totally fine. It's not your choice. Or it is your choice for your body, but it's not your choice for mine.
Well, for me, like from the very beginning, one of the things that I noticed about Crystal before we were ever dating, before we ever got married, anything, is like her level of passion towards, being a mom. I had no doubt from the very beginning that Crystal's mark on this world would be the best mom possible. So like when she researches all this stuff and looks into it and feels confident about it, that's all that I need to know, because I'll know that, she researches this stuff and dives into it as deeply and more passionately than I could business and stuff of that nature. So like, she doesn't tell me how to run a business. I don't tell her how to be a mom. So like when she was like, let's do home birth, no hospital, no medication, no needles, probes, and prods. I'm like, okay, I guess that's interesting. I didn't really know how that whole realm worked. It's kind of scary at first, and like you want to be the safest you can possibly be. But in talking more with her and learning more about the midwife and everything, it seems to be a pretty natural thing. Mm-hmm. Birth itself is a natural thing. People have been having babies for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it's strange to think that when you actually start peeling the layers back and dissecting what's going on, yes, we have access to all this technology, all this, all these mediums to aid in issues. But if you're 100% completely healthy, if your entire life has been dedicated to being healthy, being more natural, and just being more in tune with your body like it was intended, why would it make sense to disrupt all of that and do something totally counter to everything that you've worked for up to that point? Mm-hmm. So like I look at our house, that's our home, that's our comfort place. That's where it makes sense to have a baby. We're going to bring a baby into a world in our little nest, and that's what we're going to do with the home birth.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And there is, so every single state has its own rules and regulations on what will approve you to have a home birth. You cannot just have you can, but you wouldn't be able to have someone who's licensed. So in the state of Arkansas, you have to have 2 risk assessments done by the state or an OBGYN. And they have to approve that you are healthy enough to do a home birth. And then you will have a licensed midwife, and she can come in and, help you with all that. So there are certain things that you have to go through we will do, another thing we've chosen to do is not have several ultrasounds. We're going to just have the one, unless there seems to be some sort of complication. There's reasons for that as well. There's a ton of different reasons for a ton of different things, and I'm not sure that we'll go into all of it, but I am choosing to do this the most natural way possible while making sure that our baby is safe, while making sure that I'm safe, doing all the correct tests that I feel necessary, and not doing the things that I feel are unnecessary. But we're pretty much doing the same thing everyone else is doing, maybe just to a lesser degree, which is just some things are just unnecessary, unneeded, and some things are very needed depending on your individual case and situation.
One benefit of doing this is we don't have to take that oral glucose tolerance test. Yes,
that's true. We do not have to take the oral glucose tolerance test. We actually don't even have to do the CGM. However, I think that we will do the CGM. And that's another thing, that your midwife has to have gone to school for an additional certification in order for you to say, hey, I don't want to do that. And then you sign a waiver that pretty much says, like, hey, she said no, we're okay with that. And my midwife said, based on your lifestyle and the things that you do, I don't have a problem with that. So that's really exciting. I don't have to drink that nasty stuff and wait for my blood sugar to rise and do all the gross things, and I get to opt out. So That's nice.
Plus, we'll be at the comfort of our own home. Like, I mean, that alone is just worth its weight in gold. And your sister, like you mentioned, or your sister-in-law, I guess, Chad's wife, I mean, she's done this 4 times now.
Yeah, my sister-in-law has had 4 home births. The first one was in Africa. They did it by themselves. It was just the 2 of them.
In like a freaking little tent with like no medical stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, like that's hardcore. That's savage right there.
Yeah. And then they've had the rest of the last 3 in the US, in their home. They've had different midwives, each in a different state, I believe, Washington, and 2 in Oregon. And they've all been very successful. My sister-in-law is a very tiny, tiny individual, and she has had all 4 very successfully. My brother has delivered all of them, and it's so beautiful. And I am the weird person that loves watching births. I will watch video after video, specifically of home births, because the mother, just watching the mother, it's such a beautiful process. And seeing that moment after the baby comes, it's just like, dang, she just did that. And you can see that in her, like, I just did that. Also, there's this child, and it's amazing, and you get to choose in your own home. No one's taking your baby. No one's washing them. No one's, poking, prodding, doing all the things. And yes, they have to weigh the baby and they have to do the things, but you get to be just in that moment for a little while, just the 3 of you connecting and being together and just watching those videos. It's absolutely amazing. And yes, there's sucky parts to it, and I realize that, but the whole process is just so beautiful.
I'm going to be catching the baby. I'm going to be delivering this baby. There's not going to be any go wait out in the hallway now while we'll get all the hard work done. Like, I'm going to be right there in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, as it should be, like, freaking own it, take responsibility, be the parent you need to be. So yeah, I'm excited about that. It'll be good.
Yeah, me too.
We have some names picked out.
No, let's not talk about those.
Let's not talk about those.
No, I'm not ready to share that yet.
We don't know if it's going to be a boy or girl. We don't know if we're going to find out. I guess we have what week do people typically find out?
We have 1 ultrasound, and it is around the 20th week, and that will be the time that we decide whether we're going to find out or not. And if the baby's not in the right position, we are not going to get another ultrasound to find out what it is.
Yeah.
So you can do like a blood test, I guess, to find out what it is, but we just haven't decided if we want to find out or not. So
yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird when you think about it. Like, when in nature would you ever know if it's going to be a male or female until it's actually born?
Yeah.
Which I kind of like doing things kind of in line with nature. So I don't know what I'm going to decide on that. But either way, they're going to be pretty darn cute.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to start diving into what we're going to do what we intend to do from a parenting standpoint?
Yeah. I mean, even the home birth is what we intend to do.
Yeah.
The Lord might have different plans for us. I don't know.
None of this stuff is set in stone, but this is certainly the direction we're taking things.
Yeah.
As of the moment. So, as Crystal said earlier, one thing that we wanted to really make sure that we do is raise the kids, plural, hopefully, at some point on land. So we want to have the land that we have now, or eventually more land to raise the kids. I think one of the best things that my folks did for me is that we grew up on land. Like we had dirt to play in, we had things to do, we had work to be done, and the life skills that I acquired in doing that. Not to say that I'm light years ahead or better than any of my peers, but there definitely seems to be a difference in those that grew up on land versus those that didn't, because like the skill sets that I acquired in working on the land, like they just came naturally to me, and they transcend working on the land. Like they come in play every other aspect of my life, and I feel like there's so much to be said for that, and a lot of people don't have that opportunity. So we wanted to make sure that was the case for us, for sure.
Yeah.
What are some other things? We don't plan on giving our kids iPads at age 3.
Yeah, and again, all of the things that we have to say, this is no harm or no ill will. No, we don't mean anything rude to anybody who does do these things. It just is what we're choosing, or what we would like to choose for our families or our family. And even people within my family have done a lot of the things that I am choosing not to do. And everyone's going to be so different. I just want to put that out there first, that we're not trying to hurt people's feelings. We just want to talk about what we are going to do. But yeah, we don't own a TV. And that's not something that we want to purchase. So setting our child in front of a screen to be entertained is something that we don't want to do, and people laugh at us and they're like, you're going to change your mind. And we've never owned a TV in the time that we've been together. I can't imagine choosing that for my child when I've not done it for myself.
The same people that say, oh, you say that now, but as soon as you have that kid, you're going to give them an iPad or whatever. Those are the same people that used to tell me, you know what, you say you're in shape now, but you just wait until you get a job. You just wait until you get married. You just wait until. It's like you commit to the things that you want. You put value in life. You prioritize, and then you just hold your word. You don't deviate from that. So I don't see any benefit in using a TV or an iPad as a crutch for parenting. Not to say that my kids will never be allowed to watch TV, because that's not the case, but I'm not going to use that just because that would be convenient all the time, Yeah. So,
and that is one thing that Robert's parents did with him and his brother. They didn't have TV. When they wanted to watch something, they sat down as a family and watched a movie. And that is something I could see us doing, is sitting down as a family and watching a movie together, or watching something on, the computer screen or whatever.
But a good movie like John Wayne or something. Not one of these.
I'm not sure they would want to watch John Wayne, but
our kids will want to watch John Wayne.
Just something as a family. It's like family movie night. I think that there's nothing wrong with that, and it's not consuming the majority of their day.
What about nutrition? Kids' nutrition.
Yeah, so I intend to be fully keto throughout my entire pregnancy. I have been for the last 5, almost 6 years, so there's nothing that's going to deviate me from that. My midwife is very supportive of that, has actually zero problem with me doing that, and is not even trying to be picky about that at all. So that's super, super awesome to have that support.
Speaking of nutrition real quick, and you're 9 weeks in this week, I guess. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have aversions to meat, which you've had these past several weeks, but that hasn't given you like this free ability to just go eat a bunch of carbs. You haven't done that.
Nope.
So how come you just haven't gone off the rails and eaten a bunch of everything?
Because there's no benefit. There's no benefit to doing that to me or my baby. Honestly, I would be so much more sick. Morning sickness gets a lot worse if you do have carbs in and out, because it increases your blood sugar, and the higher your blood sugar, actually the more sick you will get. And there's no benefit. There's absolutely none. And there are foods I've been able to eat during this time, and we can go over this, when we do the first trimester.
Yeah.
But there's definitely things that you can eat. Can I do a huge shout out right now?
Sure.
Keto Explorer has been a lifesaver for me. I've been eating the stinking snot out of the steak bites and the buffalo meatballs.
Yeah, she really has. It's weird that
Oh my gosh.
you can't eat like a steak fresh off the grill, but one of his, buffalo meatballs or steak bites you can devour.
Yep. And I think it's because I'm eating it dry. It's not hot. I don't really want a hot meal. But I've been able to eat the junk out of those. It's so good.
Yeah. Those are pretty good.
And it's great because I'm still able to get in like the red meat and all the good things that I want to get in. So anyways, we can go over nutrition a little bit more when we do the first trimester overview.
Yeah. But back to our kids' nutrition, again, what we intend to do is, babies are born ketotic. The mother's breast milk, the colostrum in that is very high fat. It is ketotic as well. We are going to be breastfeeding. Like there's not going to be any formula in the mix.
Yep.
There's a lot of things that I didn't really even recognize. Like a lot of people, this is probably common knowledge, people that have done some digging on this, but since I've only recently started digging, I haven't really known this. But like the C-sections are not optimal from a immune system standpoint for the newborns. You were a C-section baby.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that we think that a lot of the gastric issues that I have actually can stem from that and the amount of antibiotics I had as a child. It was kind of like all set me up for failure.
Yeah.
But there are things that you can do when you have a C-section, like collecting the mucus from the mother and actually spreading it on the baby's eyes, ears, nose, mouth. You just cover the baby in it, and it sounds gross.
Sounds really gross. Like I heard that and I'm like, that's weird as hell.
It's the best thing you can do for your baby, and then preventing them from being washed for a couple of days also sounds really gross, but it's so good for your baby. And I mean, you can look it up. Like it is very scientifically based. There is so much information on it, but it's just not commonly known because people don't want to hear the grossness,
Yeah, people are fed into this normal modern day Western medicine.
You should be clean.
Funnel.
Everything should be sanitized. Your body does things naturally. Like
Yeah.
my body is going to produce the mucus, the all the organisms that my child needs when it leaves my
Birth
womb. It goes through the birth canal. We'll be introduced to all of that stuff in the best way possible. And then your breast milk is the next best thing for giving your baby the
fuel it needs.
Yeah, the fuel, the protection against sicknesses and illnesses and things like that. So, and again, breastfeeding is another thing that's really, really hard, and I can't speak on it because I've never done it before. I know it can be extremely difficult for some women, and I'm not going to say that my journey is going to be easy. I have no idea. So that's not something I can really dive into, but I've done a lot of research on that as well, and different people you can talk to and figure out. Even like chiropractic work for infants can actually help them breastfeed better. There's just a lot of different things that you can look into. So we do intend, back to nutrition, we do intend to breastfeed as long as we can. And then at that point, we would just introduce like
real
pureed, pureed real food. And just keep rocking and rolling with that. I mean, as the child grows up, we can kind of talk a little bit more about their food options and things like that. But I think you at some point have to let them have their own free will, and they're going to make those choices, and they're probably going to get a little sick after a little while, or after they choose to have something junky. But my job as their parent is going to be to inform them and to let them know, like, hey, this is why we do this. If you don't want to do it, then it's probably going to end up this way. And they're going to learn from their own mistakes, or they're going to learn from what I tell them. So it's one way or another, but that's as they get older. Yeah. They don't have a choice for the first little bit.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I mean, we never want to, like, we're very hardcore, strict keto. We take pride in that. But that's not something that I would, force upon anybody. I don't force that upon my clients. I wouldn't force that upon my friends or family. Like anytime you try and force something, it always ends bad. And the same would be true probably in greater form with, our kids. So, however, if we're the ones buying the groceries, which we will be, we're stocking the food in the pantry and the fridge as we see fit. So we'll be putting good quality foods in there, and which means our kid will be eating good quality foods, not snickerdoodles and Lunchables and formula and all the crap that comes with most kids' meals. So I'm super excited about laying the foundation for that, and I feel like there's a lot of people in the keto space, keto community, that have only been keto for the past few years, improved their health tremendously. There's been a few people that have tried to transition their kids to a keto diet pretty early on, but I'm super excited to see how all this unfolds for us, because we will have been keto for quite some time prior to the pregnancy, and then our kid will be born into eating a ketogenic diet, pretty much right out the gates. So I'm just excited to see how that pans out. Now, kids, they're going to grow much faster, that they're going to have a higher carb tolerance, and if we're feeding them real food right at the bat, then they're not going to be, there's not going to be any gestational diabetes or, insulin resistance on the kids' part. So I'm not really nearly as concerned about them eating fruits or things of that nature that we grow on our own property, vegetables from our own garden. I don't know the extent to which that will happen, but yeah, I don't ever want to be dogmatic about strict keto and force that upon anybody, but it will be very cool to see how their health is impacted by eating real foods right out the gate.
Yeah. And Robert and I both have had eating disorders, and that is not something that we want to instill in our children. So I think we're both very aware of that, and kind of the things that have triggered us and the things that we've heard from other people that have triggered them into their lifelong eating disorder or short-term eating disorder or whatever. So, as our lives progress, we will find the right ways to kind of go about things. But yeah. Let's talk about workouts. What do we plan to do once we have a baby and Robert's like, I just want to go work out?
Well,
I feel like a lot. I know,
know.
but we have someone who just recently had a baby, and they're like, I haven't been to the gym since I had a baby. And I'm like, you're a man. You didn't have the baby. Why aren't you going? So I just find that's.
Do I know who you're talking about?
Yeah, but I'm not going to say their name.
Okay.
But it's like, in my perspective, I could not hold Robert back from going, because he is going to be a better human for me and our child if I know he's got a workout in, Yeah,
nobody wants to be around me if I have to work out. We'll put it that way.
So I think Robert probably won't skip a beat, I think he'll, miss a day or two. But for me,
we do plan when the baby's born, we're going to have like a playpen or something right there in the gym, so that if it's feasible, you and I can still work out together on occasion as well. We have to just move the MMA section a little bit and, put a playpen there. Chip, I'm looking at Chip right now. He's like, no. But yeah, it'll be good.
I think our best bet is going to be for Robert to watch the baby while I'm doing a workout, and then the same thing for me, for Robert to come in and do his workout. We would love to work out together, but we would definitely have to find someone to watch the baby, or maybe nap time or something. But that usually doesn't work out. So.
We could have Ellen watch the baby.
Yeah, there you go.
Ellen would be
We'll
good.
have Sunny over. Sunny can watch him.
Just not Dylan or Bryson.
I would trust them.
Yeah, I'm just messing. So yeah, we definitely plan on doing that. We're not gonna be one of those parents that just like, it's so busy. And again, this is all of our intentions.
Yep,
I'm not gonna say anything, but at the same time, I know that I'm pretty freaking disciplined, and I know Crystal is too. And when I say I'm gonna do something, I do it. And I'm telling you right now that I'm not going to miss my workouts after we have a baby. So
yeah, I will say that there is going to be a period of time after I have the baby that I will not be working out. That is just natural. That is healthy. You should have a couple of weeks of recovering and, not pushing your body to another level. So there will be a piece of downtime there for me. But as soon as I'm pretty much cleared and I feel well, then we'll go ahead and rock and roll.
Yeah, it'd be good. We also, and we're getting way ahead of ourselves here, but we're just kind of throwing things out as we come to mind here. We're planning on the homeschooling route for the first, I don't know, several years.
I think we're just going to see how it goes. I would love to homeschool all the way through. But I feel like at a certain point, the kids are going to want to go to school and, maybe somewhere middle school, high school, something like that. And if they want to go to school, then we're going to let them. If they prefer to be homeschooled, then we'll also let that.
And homeschooling is interesting because I used to always have this very negative, connotation associated with homeschooling, because when I was in school, my folks looked into homeschooling for a bit, and we went to a few things to see what all that was about. And the homeschooling environment where I was, because like homeschooling is not just at home. You have got like a community of homeschooler, like the parents all get together. There's events for the kids, so there's sports, and that's all grown significantly in the past 15 years. When I was in school, there wasn't really much of that, so it was like this weird, non-socialized group of kids who didn't know how to interact with people, and that was the homeschool group. It's like, man, I don't want that. I wouldn't want that for my worst enemy. But that's just not the case. Like, as I learned more about homeschooling, that's just not the reality. So like I said, there's all these team sports, there's all these events, and I place a ton of significance on education. My mother's incredibly educated. My dad's got his doctorate. He teaches at a college level. Like, education's a really big part of my family for sure. So I'm not worried about my kid getting the utmost in education, and I wouldn't entertain the idea of homeschooling unless I thought that they would get a better education in us doing so, which I do think would be the case from both a socialization standpoint and a formal, knowledge, book smart education standpoint.
We would really love to be able to travel with our kids, even if it's just like within the U.S., and be able to go to these different places and say, like, this is what we're learning about. This is the statue we're speaking of. This is the, city of this, that, and the other. And my family lives on the other side of the U.S., so for us to make a trip, it's like we get to see family, we get to adventure, we get to, I think that would be a lot of fun. People, I think, are going to question, like, how the heck are you guys going to do homeschool when you already have a business and stuff? Well, when we showed you guys the layout of the business many months back, and everyone's like, where's Crystal's office? Well, I do have a corner office, and that works out wonderful. But I also have a home office, and I do intend to work for, Keto Brick, Live Savage Apparel, all of that. Still keeping up on my Lady Savage stuff, but just finding different ways to navigate that, different areas that I can pass that off to other people, like, Kevin, Ellen, Chip, Robert, the crew, and figuring out where I belong with that. And as we decide to pick up school, my children are going to be my priority. And Robert and I have both known that forever. As soon as we have kids, the kids are my priority. The business will then come second, other than our own relationship. So we both knew that. We planned for this. This is why we waited for a specific time. We waited until we were ready, until we had the right people within the business to make sure that this was a successful move. And people say you can't plan for the perfect time, and no, you can't. And I'm not saying that this is the perfect time, but I think we planned pretty dang good.
Yeah.
So we do have a plan for all of this. Like, we're not just going willy-nilly. We want to homeschool and all that. We do have kind of a plan of action.
It was kind of funny. We were joking earlier. Crystal literally made a spreadsheet, a color-coded spreadsheet that showcased the best time to get pregnant, when that birth would happen, that relationship to the next conferences that we have coming up. Like, okay, I need to have had the baby this many months before we go to our first conference that year, or
and
we
that
can have the baby
sounds
then.
really silly, but okay, first of all, if you guys know Robert at all, he's very business oriented. He's very spreadsheet oriented. He loves his stinking whiteboards. So I knew if I laid it out for him, he would be able to see it in a much better view, a much better picture. I could just know it for myself and be like, okay, let's go. But Robert is not that way. So I felt like I had to set it out for him. And also things like the conferences and gatherings and, the things that we already have planned, those are important to us. And I mean, if I decide to have a baby in the middle of all that, I would have a baby in the middle of all that. But I want to make it to where we can make it to all of those, or at least Robert can make it and the crew can make it. And if that means that me and the baby have to stay home, that's okay. But let's do our best to like plan and prepare and make sure that we're all set up and that no one's kind of left lingering or, feeling like they're missing or, something like that. So
Yeah.
you can make fun of me all you want, but you're welcome.
Yeah, I know. Well, I just got an email that the Metabolic Health Summit 2022 is first or second week in May.
Sorry, Metabolic.
Skip
what
out
one
on that
is it?
Metabolic Health Summit.
Oh, sorry about it.
Maybe
You
not
have to
next
miss
year,
that one.
But yeah, no, I think it'll be good. I think, and like my folks are going to be retiring pretty much that same year, which is cool because they'll be able to, spend more time with the baby, and they're going to start sailing the world, which sounds like it would not be good for spending time with the baby, but we're going to be able to meet up with them at several ports, and that could be, an education in itself and an experience for, that would be more so as the baby gets older, but yeah, that would be cool. That'd be cool. What else? Is there any other high-level, top-of-mind things that pop up that we're going to be doing counter to the norm?
I mean, there's so many things, but I think that's
Pretty good little teaser.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So to summarize, we're super excited. It's weird because I am so quick little diatribe here. When Crystal and I were dating and I left her for 3 months, it was because I was fearful that she would be a burden on my endeavors and would hold me back, which was a very emotional time for both of us. I was better for it. She was better for it. We both came back better for it, but it was not an easy time. I did come back, obviously, and we figured things out. And, from that point on, we were on the same page. We had the same goals. Everything was aligned. And then up until now, even though the baby's been on the horizon and something that we both wanted, it's just been like, this is not feasible. This will not happen. This is not going to be good for what we want, big picture. But now that has shifted, and now the baby makes total sense. We're both super excited about it. I'm really, really excited about it. Like, I'm going to be a dad. That's kind of crazy.
It is crazy. And I will say, like, that time was not really ever easy for me. There was many, many times where there was many tears and frustrations because there was like something inside of me was like yearning for this feeling, to know that I was growing a human, and I cannot explain it. I'm sure a lot of women out there can probably understand, but there was something like deep within me that I like could not hold back, and we would have conversation after conversation of like, this isn't a good time, or this is, whatever. And that was so hard for me many times. Even though I knew the answers and I knew the best situation, it was never easy. And then another thing I really want to point out, and I'm sure I'll bring this up many times, it is never, ever okay to ask a woman or a man when they're having a baby, or why hasn't it come yet, or any of those questions that you want to ask. Don't ask them. Do not ask them. Even if you think that you have a close enough relationship, you never know what those people are going through. I can't tell you the amount of times people asked me that, and then I went and cried. And it wasn't because we were trying. It was because my heart wanted that so much that I yearned for it, but I knew it was not the best time for the baby, for what we could provide for our child. And I just want to like reiterate that. I told Robert, it's like, when I do get pregnant, I need to make sure that this is something that I state, because I can't tell you how much it hurt my heart so many times when people would ask me. And they only asked because they were so excited for us and they wanted that for us and they were eager for us. But it hurts. Like, it's a jab to the heart. And especially if by chance we were dealing with infertility or some sort of issue, I can only imagine that jab to the heart is so much worse. And I'm very blessed that was not my situation, but just think twice before you ever ask anyone anything about having a child, because that is such a sensitive, very personal experience.
Yeah, totally agree. But now it's like it is the right time. We're both on the same page, and we got to bring this new life into the world with both of us being excited with a solid foundation to be able to like provide the best life possible within our power. And I'm just super stoked for the opportunity, and I get to do it with my best friend.
Yep.
You know,
I'm super excited. Robert keeps asking me, you think I'm going to be a good dad? So you guys should all just let him know how good of a dad he's going to be, because he's going to be stinking awesome.
Well, ditto, except you're going to be a good mom. All right. Was that pretty much it?
Yeah, I think
All
that
the
was,
news?
I think so. If you guys have any questions, please comment them. I'll probably be the one to comment back on the YouTube for this video. So if you guys have any questions or statements or whatever.
Yeah, any like legit questions, we'll just start compiling them, and then we'll answer them when we do our like first trimester video, second trimester video, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, that's a really good idea, actually.
Yeah.
So the next one will be probably a few weeks out, and we'll do the first trimester overview.
Boom. Well, I love you, babe. I'm
Love you
excited for
too.
both of us, and
All three of us.
all three of us. Yeah. You, me, and the baby savage on board here.
Yep.
All right. Love you. See y'all next time. Everybody knows how to get a hold of you. LadySavage.com, the.lady.savage on IG and Facebook and all that stuff. And yeah, we're excited for what the future holds. The Live Savage Instagram is going to be the main depository for all of the baby lifestyle, not just baby stuff, but more lifestyle specific stuff. So that's going to kind of morph a little bit going forward now that I've got the Keto Savage Instagram back. So we're going to have a lot more family oriented stuff and lifestyle stuff on the Live Savage IG. So
Yep. And don't forget, we're launching the buttered maple pecan brick.
Yeah. That was supposed to be a joke. Hopefully nobody thinks that we're trying to time our pregnancy around our launches, because that would just be a little over the top. But yeah.
But we are super excited about that flavor
but the
coming
pecan
out.
launch will be launching next Sunday.
That was like everyone's top favorite flavor, and so we're really excited to bring it back this time.
Yeah, that's just the cravings you're having right now. We had to make the break because that's your cravings.
Yep, that's it.
All right. Love you, babe. Love y'all watching, listening, all that good stuff. Ta-ta for now. We'll see you next time.